Peace and blessings profound upon all of my brothers and sisters of the esoteric thought and occult thinking. Everything in life is a reflection of nature. And within nature we find male and female attributes. For example, the moon is feminine in nature, just as the sun is masculine in nature. The sun has an active nature. It gives, it impregnates. It's an active energy. The moon, in its feminine nature, is receptive. It receives its light from the sun and has its phases that it goes through. This kind of knowledge is not only how nature operates, but it's also how our country operates. As previously stated, everything in life is a reflection of nature. It isn't just coincidence that this country is a reflection of nature. But this ideology and knowledge was something that the country's founders were well aware of. In fact, these principles, which are hermetic in nature, are principles that educated Masons and intelligent spiritualists alike understand and observe in daily life. You have to understand that Masonic knowledge runs deep in the design of this country. Look at the layout of Washington, D.C.'s roads and buildings. Look at the dollar bill. Look at the symbolism on the bills. Look at the symbolism in Washington. It all refers to Egyptian and is occult in nature. Anything but Christian. Nearly half of all the generals of the Continental Army who fought alongside of George Washington were Masons themselves, as was Washington. While only 9 of the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence were Freemasons, the number of Masons go up when you look at those who signed the Constitution. 13 of the 39 signers of the Constitution were Masons. That's a whole third. Not only that, but after the war, the establishment of Masonic lodges and membership exploded in the United States. There was something exceptional about these predominant founders who were utilizing these hermetic principles to win battles and build a country. They were manifesting a reflection of God's very nature. So to understand my following remarks, you'll have to have a basic understanding of hermetic principles. If this is something you're not familiar with, I highly recommend you read a book called The Kabbalion by the Three Initiates. It's an excellent short read. So, one of the ways that the Constitution is reflective of the human psyche is that we as human beings have the ability to change. As time goes on, we as human beings experience challenges and trials that give us new perspective. And in turn, we often come to the understanding that we need to change. Oftentimes, in many ways. The Constitution, likewise, as a reflection of ourselves, has the ability to provide us as a way to govern our lives. Sometimes we as human beings have to make amendments in our own lives. Just as Mother Earth has a way of turning dead leaves into rich, vibrant soil for new life, we too have the ability to turn old, dead experiences into new, living beginnings. The idea of an amendment is not only something found in our Constitution, but also something that is found in the nature of existence and the human experience. The creation of our existence is manifested through a series of patterns. All of existence is pattern. In order for life to thrive, a pattern of perfect balance must be obtained. Just as all of the planets and stars orbit in perfect order according to their God-given laws of cause and effect, if the sun was to stray from its God-given pattern, life on earth would be altered or destroyed. Likewise, the Constitution was meant to be a reflection of our God-given order. And if we vary from that reflection of ourselves, our country will be altered or destroyed. While several parties exist in the United States, only two are highlighted. That would be the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. The choice to highlight these two parties is not by accident. These two parties allude to the masculine and feminine attributes of not only nature, but also the human psyche. Every element of creation has a male and female attribute. Just as the atom contains a positive and negative charge, these two opposites exist in all of creation. Thus, the Republican and the Democratic parties mirror this natural phenomenon of nature. The Democratic Party alludes to the feminine attributes, the mommy, the emotional, the nurturing, just as the right side of the human brain contains these same feminine attributes. On the other hand, we have the masculine attributes found within the Republican Party, the work, the logic, the accountability, just as these same attributes are found in the left side of the brain, the masculine side of the brain. So, you may have heard it said that the two parties are just two wings of the same bird, the left wing and the right wing parties. The two political parties that govern the political atmosphere in the Western world are indeed molded after the hermetic philosophy of Hermes. The two parties are indeed wings on the same bird. Just as the left and right brain attributes exist in the same mind, just as the sun and the moon exist within the universe, all is a reflection of nature. As within, so without. As above, so below. For those familiar with Hermetic philosophy, you may recall the universe is mental. It is the mind of God. And you also understand that our mind is a micro-duplicate of that same design. As within, so without. As above, so below. The founding fathers knew that if they were to create a perfect system, it would have to surpass religious dogmas and superstitions of the day. For they had known that the very government that they withdrew from was in fact a very religious-driven government. It was adamant that the citizens who were subject to them were to worship and believe as they were told or else. The founding fathers therefore realized that a new system worthy of their legacy would have to surpass all religions and superstitions of the day, and would in fact have to be a reflection of nature itself, a testable science known to Masons and alchemists alike, veiled in allegory and symbols manifested in our very Constitution. While the Constitution was inspired by the fiery passions of the divine feminine, It was refined and polished by the intellect of the divine masculine. And while the fiery passion of the divine feminine will always be the living life behind the Constitution, it must be always that the divine masculine bridles and harnesses that sacred passion into an applicable force. So what are we to take away from this short video? Perhaps that while the founding fathers fought for us to have this republic, it's now up to us to maintain its existence. And I would propose that the way to maintain our country is none other than the same way we maintain every other important aspect of our lives, through the intelligence of the divine masculine. But what of balance between the left and right hemispheres, you might ask? I would answer that balance can only be obtained when there is peace. And peace can only be achieved when there is order, and order can only be achieved where there is divine intelligence. Just as without universal order and intelligence, life would cease to exist, and the laws of nature would leave their course and patterns, thus leaving the planet uninhabitable. Likewise, a nation that is in emotional turmoil can only achieve balance through application of divine masculine attributes, order, logic, reason. Only these attributes can be the candle that will light the pathway to balance. It's through logic that we realize a need for balance. It's through logic that we are able to construct a plan for balance. While our emotions may let us experience discomfort, it is once again the logic of our left brain hemisphere which we must always seek for any hope of balance in this material world in which we live. So, in closing, I would say, let us govern our country as we would govern ourselves. Let us not be pulled to and fro on the high seas of unbridled emotion, but rather in times of chaos and instability, let us seek the divine masculine. Let us look for that sermon in nature. Let us seek the divine balance of peace that we receive when we let the feminine and masculine roles play their part and do their job. Balance. Balance in nature. Beautiful, sweet balance in God's beautiful nature. Peace and blessings be upon you, my friends. Stay logical. Stay peaceful. Stay happy. Peace.